Professor Tommy Koh, Chairman of the Second International Summit of the Book, Ms. Yeo Chi Yen, Chairperson of National Library Board, Mrs. Elaine Ng, CEO, National Library Board, distinguished speakers and guests. Very good morning to all of you. When Professor Tommy Koh asked me several months back if I would join him at this summit, I could not say no. It's hard to turn down a learned and persuasive friend like Tommy, who has contributed so much to different facets of our society, and it's hard to stay away from kindred spirits from all over the world who share a love of learning and books. So it's my pleasure to join so many writers, scholars, thinkers, and book lovers this morning to celebrate the enduring influence of the book. In the great Chinese classic Journey to the West, the monk Tang Sangzang undertook a perilous journey, encountering demons in various guises in search of the Buddhist sutras. This story, inspired by the pilgrim Xuanzang's journey from China to India, illustrates the immutable quality of books. For centuries, they have portrayed the struggle between good and evil and carried ideas and values across cultures and civilizations. Books also enable ideas to persist and evolve through time. In the books of philosophy, science, and the humanities, we see ideas being proposed, debated, refined, and refuted in ways that have shaped societies and civilization. Books, by distilling and refining the best ideas of their writers, still have the power to move us to conviction and action. For me, the greatest value of books is their ability to capture our shared humanity amid our differences. This is all the more important in today's porous and fast-moving world, where different peoples mix more than ever, but appear to connect less than before. In Singapore, we are fortunate that our young people can learn about our cultures and history through the works of our writers, poets, and playwrights. Besides integrating these works into the school curriculum, we actively encourage Singaporeans to write stories for our children. I want to thank our Singapore writers, some of whom are taking part in this summit, for giving us a valuable way to learn about who we are, where we have come from. Writers are among a nation's most important recorders of history, commentators of the present, and shapers of the future. A nation with a lively community of writers is a rich one. But we don't read only to learn more about ourselves. We read to connect with what and who we don't know. A good book has the power to recast the way we see things. When we say a book is so good, its characters come alive, it is not really the characters that stir to life, but our instincts for seeing things the way others do that is awakened. At the heart of reading is the wish to continually feel and learn something new. When I read, that is what I look forward to, seeing through new eyes, stepping into new shoes. And when a book makes that happen, my love for books and reading is reinvigorated. For these reasons, my colleagues and I at the ministry encourage every student, and indeed everyone, to read. Read widely, read to learn more about yourself and about others. We first learn to read so that we may always read to learn. It will enrich our relationship with ourselves, the people around us, and the world. The relationship between books and reading is slowly changing as books move from print to picture. Today, we don't just read books. We listen to and even watch them through electronic devices. Some fear that technologically sophisticated books of the future will dull the mind as we no longer bother to use our imagination to render words into sounds and images. They worry too that we'll forget to think for ourselves after we close the book, because social media offers such an array of ready-made opinions that we will just pick one off the virtual shelf rather than form our own. What can be lost are our imagination and independence of mind. It is not so much the reading platforms, but the quality of what we read and the discipline of reading that matter. For example, in schools, our students are encouraged to not just consume a book, but to respond to it. The reader is as active a force as the writer. We need to guide young readers to deconstruct the layers of meaning in the text, to keep their imaginations alive, and to discern for themselves what is true and important. When we do so, we dignify the writer and his work and keep the dialogue between reader and writer honest. These are the habits of deep reading that come into play whether a book comes in papyrus, paper, or iPad. Beyond the way technology changes our reading platforms, I believe the impact of the internet age on reading, learning, and education is going to be profound. We are just at the early phase of experiencing and responding to these changes. With information readily available at our fingertips, rote learning has to make way for digital literacy. By this, I mean our ability to search for the relevant information, discern truths from untruths, and synthesize the relevant pieces of information into coherent knowledge. We need to place greater emphasis on critical and inventive thinking so that we may go on to imagine and create new insights. At the workplace, as the information revolution transforms the nature of work, our ability to move from theory to practice and to apply learning imaginatively in different contexts and to create new knowledge will become increasingly valuable. Above all, when the internet enables everyone with an access to a computer to become his own publisher, abiding by the core values of responsibility and respect for others will determine if we can have meaningful conversations in cyberspace. Our education systems must respond to the new demands of the information age. Let me say a few words about the challenges for libraries. No matter how books evolve, we still need purveyors of good books to keep the love for reading alive. We can't buy all the books we would love to read. Even if we could, there aren't enough years in one lifetime to read all the great works. So we need someone to both fill the shelves with good books and to point us to the next book that is going to change us. I'm sure everyone in this room has had someone in your life at some point pass you a book and say, I think you should read this. This happened to me over and over again. In fact, in the last 2 days alone, 2 professors have recommended new reading materials for me. I acquire far more books than I can possibly read now, but take comfort that I can perhaps get to enjoy them when I retire. And indeed, they don't just widen our reading choices by promoting different types of books and reducing the cost of trying new books. They stoke our imaginations, they curate the fodder for our brains, they sometimes point out new areas we hadn't thought of ourselves. The library is one of the most generous constructs I can think of, a place where you can go to get unlimited knowledge and inspiration for free. Our primary schools are funded to provide libraries in every classroom and at every level, from primary 1 to 6. Better known as the Class Library Project, this program supports extensive reading in all our primary schools so that our students get used from an early age to have access to a range of quality, age-appropriate books. This is on top of the well-equipped school libraries with user-friendly library systems and well-trained library personnel that each school has. The idea is that our children should never lack access to good books. They should come to think of good books as readily and abundantly available, and hopefully learn to appreciate the various elements, from the writer to the librarian who make this possible. And they should understand that what we gain from books must be shared. This is something that also happens outside of school, of course, with an innovative library offerings across the island provided by the National Libraries Board. Whatever the future of books, if our libraries can continually stoke our love of reading, learning, questioning, and sharing, they will be an irreplaceable part of a society of readers. I hope our readers, young and old, can appreciate and reciprocate the generosity and genuine love of reading that animates our libraries. I hope we as readers realize that true reading does not stop after we close the pages of a book. It does not even stop after we have interrogated the book, considered it deeply, and formed our thoughts on it. It continues when we pass on and share that book and act on what we have learned. Umberto Eco once described books as, I quote, machines that provoke further thoughts. And indeed, this is a machine age. And in the internet age, we have many more of such machines. The challenge is to be able to make full use of this. Good books, in whatever form, takes us out of our comfort zone and tests the limits of our mental capacity. They anchor us to our own cultures, even as they bring us into new worlds. They enable us to see things from new perspectives. And in our context, where many make it possible for us to enjoy books, they remind us to be appreciative and be generous in thought and deed. That's why I love books, and why I wish you all a lifetime of reading widely, critically, and with appreciation. Thank you.
Thank you, Minister Heng. Please remain on stage. May I now invite Mrs. Elaine Ng, Chief Executive Officer, National Library Board, on stage to present Minister Heng with a token of our appreciation.